Rohan was always the good student. He woke up early, wore his neatly pressed uniform, completed every assignment, and never questioned what he was told. Teachers admired him, relatives praised him. His report cards were filled with numbers that made everyone proud. For years he believed he was on the right path. But one evening, years later, sitting alone in a small rented apartment after a long day at work, staring at his laptop screen filled with unfinished tasks, unpaid bills, and unanswered emails, a strange question crossed his mind. If I did everything right, why does life feel so wrong? That question is where the story begins, because what Rohan didn't realize was this: he was educated, but he was not prepared. Rohan's life looked fine from the outside: a stable job, a regular salary, a routine, but inside something felt off. He noticed how small things affected him deeply. Criticism from his boss ruined his entire day. Sorry. Unexpected expenses stressed him out, and even simple decisions felt overwhelming. One night, while scrolling through his phone, he came across a simple idea. What if the problem is not you, but what you were never taught? That thought stayed with him because for the first time he was not blaming you himself, he was questioning the system. The next day, Rohan sat down with a notebook, not to prepare for an exam, but to understand the life. He wrote one question at the top of the page: what do I actually need to learn to live better? That question slowly turned into a journey where he began discovering lessons that were never part of his school books but were shaping his life every single day. What you are about to see is that journey, and somewhere in it, you might see yourself too. It started with the money Rohan was earning, but constantly stressed. No matter how much he earned, it never felt enough. At the end of every month, his bank balance seemed to disappear like water slipping through his fingers. One day, he sat down and tracked his expenses for the first time. What he discovered shocked him. He was not poor, he was unaware. He realized he had never been taught how to save intentionally, how to invest wisely, how to differentiate between comfort and access. Money, he understood, was not just about earning, it was about understanding behavior. And for the first time, he saw a pattern. His stress was not because of lack of money, but lack of clarity. As Rohan dug deeper, a thought disturbed him. Why didn't anyone teach me this? He remembered years of schooling, equations, theories, definitions, but never a single conversation about the money. At first, he felt angry, then he felt curious. He began reading about how education systems were designed, and slowly he understood. The system was not broken, it was just built for a different time, a time where stability mattered more than independence. And that realization changed something inside him. Instead of blaming the system, he decided to outgrow it. But money was not his only struggle. One afternoon, during a meeting, his manager gave him feedback. It was not harsh, but it stayed in his mind for hours. He replayed it again and again. That night, he realized something uncomfortable. It's not what was said, it's how I felt about it. For the first time, he turned inward. He started observing his reactions, his triggers, his emotional patterns. He realized that most of his stress didn't come from the situations, it came from how he interpreted them. And that was a powerful shift. Rohan had always believed intelligence means being smart, good marks, quick answers, strong memory. But now he noticed something different. Some people around him were not the smartest academically, but they handled pressure better. They communicated better. They stayed calm. They grew faster. And slowly he understood life doesn't reward the smartest mind, it rewards the most aware mind. As Rohan continued learning, he started a question which things he had always accepted. Why do we follow certain career paths? Why do we fear failure so much? Why do we compare constantly? For the first time, he was not just consuming information, he was analyzing it. And that changed everything. Because when you start questioning, you stop living on autopilot. One day, Rohan had an idea, a good one, but when he tried to present it in a meeting, he struggled. His thoughts were clear in his mind, but unclear in his words. And that moment taught him something powerful. Ideas don't create impact. From that day, he started working on how he spoke, how he listened, how he connected. And slowly, people began noticing him. Rohan remembered his school days, the toppers, the rank holders, the constant race for marks. But now in real life, things looked different. Some toppers were struggling, some average students were thriving, and he realized marks measured performance in a system, but life measured adaptability in reality. Rohan often complained he didn't have time, but one weekend he tracked his day, hours on his phone, mindless scrolling, distractions, and it hit him. He didn't lack time, he lacked awareness. From that day, he became intentional, not perfect, but conscious. Rohan always feared failure because growing up, failure meant embarrassment. But one day he tried something new and failed. And something surprising happened. Nothing broke. No one judged him. Life moved on. And in that moment, he realized failure was never the problem. Fear was. He asked himself, why was I so afraid? And the answer was very simple because he was trained to avoid mistakes, not learn from them, and that awareness gave him freedom. Rohan improved externally. He noticed something internally. He was tired, stressed, disconnected. So he slowed down, started small habits, and realized success without balance is silent burnout. Opportunities didn't come from resumes, they come from conversations, and Rohan started connecting, not for gain, but for the growth. He realized you don't need to impress people, you need to be real. Introverts versus networking myth, and the answer is authenticity matters. Rohan stopped clinging to certainty. He started embracing the change, and we should ensure that learn, unlearn, and relearn. For the first time, he stopped asking, "What should I do?" and started asking, "Why does it matter?" He looked back, and instead of resentment, he felt gratitude because awareness changed everything. His life didn't change overnight, his thinking did, and that changed everything. Small actions, daily consistency, and the silent growth. So, daily habits to implement these lessons. Rohan was not special, he was aware, and that made the differences. So, successful people who applied these principles, and this is one of the case study. Now, the question is, what will you do the next? So, start today, learn what school didn't taught you. Which part of Rohan's story felt like you're on? So, you can comment which lesson has changed your life. Because at the end of the day, school teaches you how to pass the exams, and the life teaches you how to live. And now you have started learning. Your education is your responsibility now.